live on YouTube, and now let's go live. Ooh. Okay, now we are live everywhere. Bear with us, and if anyone checking in, we'll start in 2 minutes.
I think it's so funny, Travis, you drink coffee out of a cup rather than a mug.
Well, it's not because iced coffee. I don't do hot coffee.
Welcome, Carrie. Welcome to the chat.
Hello. You don't like, I don't like, well, I mean, I don't hate hot coffee, but yeah, I only drink iced coffee, even in the winter.
Yeah, I'm a big room temperature. I like iced coffee, but I just can't, I'm just real sensitive to heat. So I always have some ice cubes in mine.
I'm okay with room temperature. I mean, usually I don't have ice in my iced coffee. It's just not hot. And it's from the fridge, so it is coldish, but it warms up. So yeah, just bear with us. We're just gonna warm up for a sec, and then we'll get cooking. Say at the 09 marker, we'll get started with today's episode.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, YouTube is good. And alrighty.
Dokey.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. We are live on TikTok and YouTube, so thank you for tuning in. We're Fink, Future is Now Coalition, and at Fink, we're real, right? And the simple fact is politics is rigged against everyday people like you, me, Travis, your grandma, everybody, right? In the rigged system, big money is calling the shots, party bosses are picking the choices given to you, and media is spinning the narrative. And at Fink, we are bypassing this rigged system and building a brand new citizen-owned alternative that puts you back at the center of politics. So let me break down who we are and what we're building. We at Fink are creating a citizen-owned alternative to the rigged political system of today. And we are prioritizing your voice and making sure it counts when it comes to policy. So imagine this. Every candidate getting equal spotlight, merit beating money, and accountability being both visible and demanded. And those things we are calling digital politics. It is a brand new lens that helps identify the rigged patterns in the politics of today and helps us build fair ones designed to serve regular folks like you and me and not just the 1%. So before we get into the real meat and potatoes of what today's live is about, friendly reminder, tap your screen, tap that heart, show us that love, jump into the chat, and follow us. We're on the road to 1,000 followers. We're over halfway there, and every little follow really counts towards that goal. And lost my spot. Today, what you are going to watch with us, we'll be watching 2 of our overcoming media manipulation parodies, and then reacting to the comments, questions, concerns that you guys left for us. We'll be clarifying and conceding. We'll be clarifying points, conceding where it's fair, and challenging some misconceptions, about our mission. So with that, Travis, can you let the good folks know, what these videos are and what we're about to get into?
Yeah, so pretty much we're basically showing what most people know, at least intuitively, if not outright, that the media has their own bias. Yes, different people within the media, the main establishment media, mainstream media is there's definitely a partisan side. Like pretty much everyone on news is either left or right in their ideology, the way they talk. However, they're always, always, always pro-establishment, pro-corporate, pro-status quo. We're talking about specifically establishment media, the ones that are the billionaires backing. Like the statistics, it's about 90% of TV media is owned by just 6 companies. So this is the last week of our last week and this week. The focus has been about how we're planning to overcome media manipulation. And so the idea is, with digital politics, which is our new framing of politics, we want to focus the attention that the issue is the deeper issue of, rather than left versus right, is up versus down. And that's up is establishment, those that serve power, serve money, serve those above them, versus down-serving media, down-serving politicians. Down-serving is serving those that are not in power, the average voters, the ones that they're supposed to serve. And so in a nutshell, the videos that we did here, the parody videos, and just all the content we've been working on this and last week is around talking about the media manipulation, the establishment media, and how people should be, we want to promote independent media, independent journalists. Doesn't matter to us what side of the spectrum you are, left, right, independent, whatever. That's not our concern. We just want to move people away from establishment up-serving media and towards independent down-serving media.
Awesome. And I see a lot of folks coming in. Thank you for liking the live. Thank you for joining us. Before we dive further, just going to do a quick reset with everyone. So for those of you just tuning in, we're Fink. We are building a citizen-owned system through digital politics where representation comes before money and politics as usual. And today we will be watching with you guys, having a watch party of our 2 parody videos and reacting to the comments left there. So drop a question in the chat, leave a comment, and remember to follow us. We're on the road to 1,000 followers. We're over halfway there. With that, I will turn it back to Travis.
Okay. Yeah, so with the first segment, we're going to do our Family Guy parody. We're going to show that and then talk about it and then go over some of the comments. So let's switch focus here. And then I'm going to press my magic button and we will listen. Let me know when it starts playing. Let me know if you guys don't hear something. Just say it in the chat and I'll fix it. But it should be good. So here we will go.
You know what really grinds my gears? The news. All of it. CNN, Fox, MSNBC, same billionaire owners, same screaming clowns, just different party colors. They all yell, "Trust us." And I'm like, buddy, if you gotta yell that loud, you're lion-hearted than Stephen Miller's Tinder profile or Nancy Pelosi's financial disclosure report. And the local news? Same freaking owners. Tonight's top story, crippling inflation, followed by tips on how to stretch your dollar at Walmart. We need independent journalists. No millionaire bosses, no corporate sponsors. Just a rating system where viewers can say, 1 star. This guy said the economy's fine while I'm eating top ramen and Googling side hustles where I don't have to get naked. I'm Peter Griffin, and that's what grinds my gears. Oh, I've been fired for being honest. Well, as long as I am no longer working here, let me tell you something. You know what really grinds my gears? Opinion news.
Fuck you, Diane.
Cool. So yes, that was the Family Guy one. And I mean, there's only so much substance that we could put into it, but the bottom line is, like, as he was saying in the audio, that you know, it's just such a manipulation. Like, you know, they'll talk about the inflation, and then it just there's so little substance in the news these days. And in hindsight, there's so many stats I could have prepared. It's been dawning on me. But I mean, all the statistics show that most Americans believe that the news has been destroyed. Journalism died. You know, most people don't believe in the media. It's funny because they'll say in one side they'll say, yeah, all the media lies, it's all bullshit, and then on another side they'll say, well, my media lies less than your media. And we're not here to debate whether one media, one like left or right media, which one lies more, this or that. The point is that both of them are manipulative. Both of them are pro corporate. Neither side's really gonna put focus on substance, on real solutions, on the true feeling of the American people. And so that's what we're trying to take shape on. So, you know, that video, I think it took over 160,000 views on Imager. We posted on Imager, YouTube, TikTok, pretty much across the board. But yeah, so again, the biggest thing, you know, we talk a lot about up versus down politics, also known as digital politics. And you know, usually when we're talking about it, we're talking about politicians, that politicians should be judged based on up versus down. Are they serving you as they should, a civil servant? Or are they serving big donors, their power, money? But the same applies to media too, is another big one. I mean, pretty much every entity that we talk about. So political organizations, independent media, or media in general, politicians should all be rated up versus down. You know, if you still want to see them as left versus right, that's okay too. It's just, this is one extra dimension that can really, by unifying more people around understanding up versus down, it helps you pick better media sources for your information. And it helps unify us a little bit more, that, you know, you could push a little less on the left versus right and partisan lines. And it's more about, you know, do they serve you? Are they genuinely here to give you the most objective reality that they can? Or are they just feeding their advertisers and the political interests? And that's they're paid to only give you establishment approved media. So that's basically the take that we're going at with the with this video. Go ahead, Liz.
So at Fink, we talk a lot about rig patterns and identifying them. So a simple way to begin doing that with media is asking, who is this company or this anchor or, you know, this messaging serving? You know, are they telling the truth? You know, A, but also B, who are they afraid of, right? Who are they actually beholden to? Do they care about giving the audience, you know, honest news, accurate news, all of that, and are afraid of you leaving them if they don't? Or, in an upserving news station, is it their donors? Is it the billionaires? Is it, you know, the big bosses of, you know, politics and media? You know, are the message that they deliver, has it been crafted to fit the donors' messaging? Has it been crafted to maybe be less accurate but more propaganda, right? So it's identifying who is the target receiver of the type of news that is being presented. And you know, you could look at, you know, different leanings and things like that, but really it's about identifying the audience. Is it big money, or is it just little old you, right? Are you the audience? Are they afraid to lose you? And if they're not, who are they afraid to lose? And it's often the big money and donors and things like that. So that's a rigged pattern that we're helping to identify and transcend.
Yeah. Yeah, so that I mean, that, so yeah, that pretty much shows that one. Just give me a second, I'm switching to the next clip, which is Deadpool. Same topic around the media manipulation. This one gets actually, he has good points in there. I like how this one turned out. Okay, so I'm ready for that. Let's switch views. Oops, this view, and we will begin now.
Well, hello there, Internet Meat Puppets. Society's more split than my spandex on Taco Tuesdays, but we can all agree on one truth. Corporate media sucks. I'm rocking this sexy white lab coat to analyze how the mainstream media screws their viewers without buying them dinner first. And I've got the perfect volunteer to help me demonstrate.
Bring it in. Do I have to do this?
CNN and Fox can get a little uncomfortable, but
No worries. I'm here.
Oh, I gotcha. Whoa. No.
Fuck it, we'll just do over the pants hand stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm out of here.
You okay?
No, it's disgusting.
Huey, come on! Okay.
listen up, Sugar Plums. A good alternative to the puppet masters is independent media. They screw up, their comment section gets blown up faster than an inflatable at a bachelor party, and without the corporate safe word.
Cool. Yeah, so yeah, same deal. I'm gonna switch here. So yeah, so like the point he said in the Deadpool one, so that like a big thing about the independent media is that they have to appeal to you as the followers instead of just a handful of millionaire corporations or billionaires. And that's important. That's an important distinction. And so it works with independent media, really influencers in general on social media. They're actually held accountable to the people in a lot of ways. It's in a lot of ways it's just much more democratic how the process works. And I mean, for anything, even outside of media, with about instead of like beyond just like news outlets. There's situations like, for example, there's influencer, there's this, I forgot the name of the person. This probably happened a million times, but there's an influencer, not even news related, that would sponsor a shampoo, and then people found out they never even tried the shampoo, and they took a hit for it, and it hurt their career for like a year or two. So like, in some kind of way that's democracy, that somebody's held accountable. They lied, they sponsored something they didn't even try. And they're held accountable. So there's something like better about that they're held accountable to the people. Without going too far into the whole Jimmy Campbell thing, the whole thing was it's not the people being mad, it's establishment holding its power fighting power threatening power, lawsuits and legal stuff, and all these different factors. It's not the people just deciding if somebody should be like canceled. It's power fighting power, basically, and that's a dangerous battle. Whereas independent media, it's not about the lawsuits, it's about the people. It's more of like, if a lot of people are mad, a lot of people are no longer going to watch them, that impacts them, that affects their bottom line and their career and stuff. So just by design, independent media has a healthier form of checks and balance. And then not that all, of course, not all independent media is going to be perfect. They're all going to have their flaws, but you have more options. There's like hundreds of thousands, probably like at least tens of thousands of independent media people that you could check in on. So you have more competition, more choices, and then again, they have the accountability that you could comment. Look at the comments, and like if there's something to dispute, the comments will be right there. And so it's just a healthier form of information. And again, like most people, we like people like to support the small businesses over the big businesses, and this is basically that. Like media, independent media is the small business of media. So that's another reason that we encourage independent media. Anything to touch on this take? That Lisa?
Yeah. So much of the what we call the rigged pattern of politics, minimum choices, right? Lack of accountability, and buying the truth, buying news, buying politicians, buying democracy. So I really like to bring in the topic of like, where do you get to yell at people in current democracy? When approval ratings are in the toilet, where do we get the option to pick better people? Why do they keep getting reelected? When news media is not satisfying you, gosh, like Travis said, only 6 companies, conglomerates own the media. You don't have that many options if you're just relying on establishment news. So again, where do you get to escape, that kind of reality, I guess? And with politicians, so it's this whole business approach, limited choices of media. You're not the audience. Their donors are the audience. And, where's the opportunity to find something better if all you have is establishment news on TV? And so we're really trying to break out of that. But again, I just, finding where the money is, who the audience is, and kind of who they're afraid of is digital politics, right? So all of those things combined are what we're talking about. And with that, I'll pass it back to Travis.
Cool. Yeah. So in general, so we're explaining the benefits of independent media. What we're doing at Think is a lot of it is connecting independent media. We're in a nutshell, we're building a meta movement, a movement of movements. We want to incorporate grassroots politicians, political organizations, and independent media. Kind of build them into one bigger network with each other so that they can work alongside each other in different ways. For example, grassroots candidates, both third-party candidates, independent candidates, even grassroots candidates within the 2 parties. Anytime a politician is deemed a threat to the establishment does not put them on media. They do not give them any media attention. And so connecting them with independent media ends up being the megaphone that the establishment media refuses to be for them. So that's part of why that's how we relate to this whole thing, is that we're trying to bridge the divide between grassroots efforts like politicians and organizations and movements and connect them to independent journalists to work a little bit more fluidly with one another. So this is just the meta movement in general, just in a personal human networking connection, connecting these different groups together, and then eventually building tech infrastructure that pairs them up a lot better. We talk a lot about clusters. The meta movement is about building these clusters of where people align on different issues, and that's going to be one of the ways for independent media to match up with these organizations and politicians and average citizens as well. So eventually we'll have a system that helps you decide, like, hey, this is where I stand on different issues. What independent media should I look at? And it'll pair you up with the right independent media. So that is further down the line. There's certain organizations that are working on that technology that we're going to start incorporating into this bigger infrastructure. Pretty much the bottom line is that there's answers to a lot of this stuff. There's already independent media. There's already politicians that want to actually represent you. There's already civic technologies that are building tech that works this way, and it just no one knows these things exist. No, they don't get enough funding to grow. And so we want to be that connective tissue, or basically like the utility company that plugs everyone into democracy. Plug you as a citizen, plug in the independent media, plug in the politicians, everyone that's grassroots, everyone that's not part of the 1% concentrated power. We want to just plug them into one giant ecosystem of democracy. And that's kind of what we are as a nutshell. Let's Liz, I'll have you go do a couple comments, do a reset, and then we'll go over the comments that some people posted about these videos.
Absolutely. Welcome to people who are just joining. We're on TikTok and YouTube, and we are Think Future is Now Coalition, and we're building a citizen-owned alternative through the lens of digital politics, where representation of you, me, everybody comes before money, and it comes before politics as usual. So today, we have just watched our 2 media manipulation parody videos. You can find those on TikTok, Instagram, Imager, if you haven't seen those yet. But we're about to react to the comments, some questions that you guys have posted under those. So that's going to be really exciting. But welcome. Feel free to drop a question, a comment in the chat with our live. We're happy to talk with you guys on here. Just a friendly reminder to hit follow on our TikTok. We're hoping for 1,000 followers. We're over halfway there, and every follow really helps the algorithm for us and just helps us grow as an organization. And with that, yeah, so we watched the Peter Griffin one first. Travis, I could just read these, unless you have a specific order you want to go in.
Well, yeah, we're gonna show it on the screen, and then like I'll show one on the screen. You just say it out loud, and then we'll talk about it, and then go to the next one.
Cool.
Just switch the thing here. Whoops.
Great. So the first one comes from Imager for the Peter Griffin video, and it says, okay, but then you have to actually pay for your news, which people seem opposed to. Before I Travis, I think that's a great concern. A lot of different paywalls are up now, and access is literally blocked, right? So this is a great comment to react to. Yeah, Travis.
Yeah, so there's a couple layers to this. One is that for one, the more views they get, the more people that do watch. There, yes, a small percentage of people are willing to pay, but there are people willing to pay for these different things. I mean, one stat that I saw, in politics in general, that $12 billion a year of grassroots, non-dark, non-big money is donated to politics, 12 billion every year. And unfortunately, some of that goes to the groups that don't deserve it. Like the DNC has big money and sellouts, so why don't give them $5? So some of it would be the awareness of helping people see more independent. The more independent media that's being seen, more people will be donating just by the pure numbers. We're also trying to help people understand where to spend their money more. Again, like, don't give $5 to somebody that takes 10 million from like big pharma. Like, give it to the person that doesn't take money from a big industries and all that. For one of them. So part of it is just by giving them more views, more reach, more visibility is going to be will result in some additional donations. However, one of the other big pieces is that, a few years ago, and still to this time, like, it's the same with all social media, that people, the more views you get, you do get revenue, from ad revenue. Now what happened around like 2017, the establishment fought back against these independent media. So they created policies basically that, like, if your content is too radical, you don't get monetized. So that's actually a way of censoring people, is by taking away your ability to raise money. So that really took a hit for independent media. You could see a lot of videos back then that talk about how much that hurt their companies. That's when Patreon started blowing up more, and they had to focus on getting direct donations because they weren't making nearly as much ad revenue. So that is a current problem. I was about to get into the solution that we have for that problem, but Liz, are you going to talk about that specifically, about the ad revenue?
Yeah.
Okay.
So something, and I'm glad Travis brought that up, because we often talk about the biggest money guzzler of any organization, right, is the marketing. It's the exposure. So if independent media could plug into this larger network, right, that takes a lot of the financial oversight, maybe. But something that we love to talk about at Fink, the establishment has the money, and they have, money buys power. But what do we have as little as regular citizens? It's people power, right? So if people power plus the age of digital exposure, that could. I just really love the idea of it being this whole wraparound system that addresses both the financial reality of smaller businesses and orgs, but also the exposure that is the solution, right? And I'm glad you're about to get into solutions, but the solution of the exposure. So just that kind of that back and forth that addresses how we get past the establishment and how we build something better. So yeah, Travis.
Yeah, so to your point, directly relating to the money issue, is that what Liz is saying is about the overhead that we would basically we're trying to build the infrastructure that lowers the overhead for grassroots organizations. So that includes independent media, grassroots politicians, grassroots organizations, movements. Because one of the biggest costs overhead for most organizations anywhere is marketing. That is the cost. Like, there are so many civic technologies, great politicians, great independent media that exist in today's world, but no one knows they exist because of marketing. Marketing is extremely expensive. So what we're doing is building an infrastructure that kind of pools the marketing into one place. So, if one of our analogies is, imagine we're building a village and all independent media lives in this village. Then all of us just need to sell the village, and then when people come into that village, then they'll see all these different independent media at their disposal. So it's that kind of a concept that allows them to pool basically the marketing costs, the marketing overhead, as well as operational costs in what we're building, this standardized communication infrastructure, operational infrastructure, marketing infrastructure, so that to Liz's point, that's a major way to lower the overhead so that their dollar can go a lot further. But then the other solution that I was going to talk about is that, so as I was saying, the independent media lost a lot of they lost a lot of advertising money because they get demonetized for being too radical. What we're building is a platform where they do get ad revenue, and that they're not going to be considered too radical. Like, that'll be built into the policy that, because ad revenue, we all hate ads, but unfortunately it does make the world go round in a lot of ways. That's how you get free YouTube. That's how you get free everything is through the ads of it, unfortunately, or whatever. So we're going to build a system where it's basically like YouTube, but then you don't get demonetized for being too radical. Like, there's nothing too radical that can get demonetized. You could get kicked off for being doing something that's illegal or something like that, but you don't get demonetized. So we're basically building something that ultimately that would be like a YouTube just for independent media, with advertising revenue, but then you could pay to get rid of the ads, like how YouTube Premium and stuff like that. You could pay to have ad free, so they get revenue that way. And there'll be a way to donate directly to the independent media. So it'd be like a Patreon, a YouTube built all in together, as well as a premium ability to have a premium service. So all that is capable of existing, and so it's all about this infrastructure that we're eventually going to build. So that's all part of digital democracy. So yeah, it's a little bit further in the pipeline. We're talking like 4 years, but that is the ultimate goal for what we're going to do for them. But even immediately, just building the support for independent media, spreading awareness for the importance of that alone is going to significantly help them. I mean, they already exist. They're already doing something. Whatever minimal amount of money they're making right now, they're making it work. So it could only increase by supporting them. So more views, more acknowledgement of the importance that they exist. That's going to raise it up. As well as, there's some upper middle class people that would donate to independent media just to lift them so that more people can see it. I mean, journalism is such a huge part of politics. It shapes our realities, what we understand that's going on in the country. The journalists are the ones that are telling us this information. So, a lot of people know how important that is. So, again, it's just a matter of unifying, standardizing the backbone of giving independent media to the people, and then just all these different solutions that we're referring to here. But yeah, so that's this comment. I'll just go into, well, I guess, Liz, if you want to say something, then we'll go to the next comment.
Yeah. So a lot of, just to wrap up this portion, this comment, there's a lot of opportunities to support, right? And at Think, we want to lift up those already good efforts so that other opportunities, like he said, you know, some people with money might help donate, more people can give their $5, $10, right? So it's all about pooling opportunities and pooling resources so that, right, the isolated efforts of marketing or being seen are not so, you know, individualistic and you have to claw for any wins you get. But yeah, ready for the next comment.
Okay. All right. So the next one, yeah, go ahead and read that one for everyone.
That one. Okay, perfect. So this one's a little longer. So they said, this is perfect for people like me who don't believe either side. I'm not welcome on right-wing social media because I actually read source facts and critically think. I'm not welcome on left-wing social media because even though I support people's right to make choices, I don't celebrate, go gaga, their choices. Result is I get called a coward for not exaggerating, being violently virtuous, or listening to people no matter their beliefs because it's hard being human. I just post simple stuff and shut the heck up.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people can really resonate with the independent media, and again, there's like there's the extremes of both sides, but again, like we always say, it's no matter what no matter what news you're watching, the one thing that the establishment has in common that it's pro corporate, it's pro their advertisers, pro the billionaires. You know, so yes, there's a lot of ways that they're different left versus right, but there's still a lot of ways that they align. It's just more subtle and manipulative and secretive. But yeah, so a lot of people can resonate to this stuff that, like, you know, you can't put everyone in just two boxes. We're humans. We're complicated. We have it's impossible to be you know, stuck in just such a small box. So the you know, so we want to, so independent media just allows for a lot of variation. That, and again, part of what we're going to build with digital democracy is finding easier ways to match you with the right independent media that you do. Like, you know, whether it's like I want Democrat, Republican, a specific parties, like ideology, or you like based on certain policy stances that you might have. You know, there's going to be a lot of different more fluid ways to match you up with different independent journalists, and they already exist. Again, it's just a matter of connecting them and bringing awareness to them. There's thousands, probably is about a couple million independent media now in the country that do this kind of work. They're on YouTube, they're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, X. I know there are a lot on there. So these guys exist like crazy. It's just they need more attention, more build a reputation, more support in general. That's really what they're missing. So yeah, so this person realized that, you know, a lot of people that feel like they don't have a political home really like independent media, and those that are third party, independent, anything like that. I mean, a lot of, you know, libertarians, progressives are big on this kind of stuff too. They understand that corporate media has an agenda. Like, again, whether it's left versus right, their bigger agenda is the status quo. They're like, here's the establishment Democrat, here's the establishment Republican. As long as you're picking these two options, America, then they don't really give a shit what happens from there, because they won, basically. You know, maybe they prefer one over the other, but long as it's not somebody outside the establishment, I'm still getting my millions and I get to do whatever the hell I want, and that's pretty much the way it works there. So yeah, so Liz, if you want to do another thing, and then we'll move on to the next comment.
Absolutely. So welcome to people just joining us. We're on TikTok and we're on YouTube. We are Think, Future is Now Coalition, and we are building a citizen-owned system through digital politics where representation comes before money and politics as usual. And today, we have just watched our 2 parody videos, and now are replying to comments and some questions and really engaging with you guys. So, you know, we would love to add to that engagement. If you have a question or a thought, feel free to put it in the chats. But, you know, as we keep getting into these comments, hit that follow button, right? We're on the road to 1,000. We're over halfway there, and every follow really counts and matters to a growing organization like us. Yeah, so I think we're ready for the next comment. Awesome. Okay, so this one is also from Imager for the Peter Griffin Grind My Gears one. And it says, the problem with independent journalism is that nobody is willing to pay for it. Those who investigate news stories and do research deserve to be paid. I didn't click to donate to Wikipedia, so I can't say I'd be willing to donate funds for an independent journalism agency. However, if we were to somehow allocate taxpayer money to this cause, I'd be fine with that because I don't think people would agree with me that we should stop paying taxes for useless things, like war or the DEA, which is their personal opinion. But yeah, some great points in here that I'd love to hear Travis's reply to that. Travis, I can't hear you if you're speaking.
Whoops, I didn't unmute. Sorry. Yeah, so what I was saying is, we already touched on in the previous comment about paying and like the optional revenue options, so we won't go over that again, but I'll say, like, when it says like donating to Wikipedia, for example, I mean, I don't know how well Wikipedia is doing. I know that once a year they do a big donation drive and they manage to do their thing. And they're actually one of the most accurate versions of encyclopedias on earth. They're rated like one of the most accurate top like 10-ish, something like that. So the model is, it's not always the most stable at all times, but again, if we what we want to do is lower the overhead costs of independent media, help them work together in some ways, pool the marketing costs basically, and operational building operational infrastructure for them, and then lowering the barrier of getting demonetized by providing a better platform for them to advertise, to do their media with advertisements. And then, in terms of taxpayer stuff, that's not for Fink to make a decision. That would be for America. If one day that's what America wants to do, is have some kind of tax write-off or some tax incentive for independent media. That would be up to America. That's not something we would be for or against. So that is an option now. That'd be something that people should talk about as this option starts growing. I mean, plenty of people think that there's totally useless spending that we do. Again, we can't think has to be neutral on what we're spending, but everyone agrees that we're spending on horrible things a lot of ways. I mean, war, we could talk a little bit about that. The war industrial complex, that's another like establishment. They make trillions of dollars out of war. So that is a crazy spending factor. But yeah, so I think we should move pretty quickly on this one because we already did pay stuff. But anything in this point that you did want to touch on, Liz?
No, I think you did a great job. I think we're ready for the next one.
Good. All right. So next, okay.
Awesome. So now we're shifting to the Deadpool video. So this person says, again, this is from Imager. So the efforts to split the left-leaning vote have begun already, and I'm just real excited to hear Travis talk about this. But before he does, I will say that this is a huge talking point of, you can't split up the left, you can't dilute the left vote or something like that. So this is just a common thing, and I'd love to hear Travis's take on it.
Yeah. So, I mean, first of all, it's like begun and never stopped. I mean, right now, America is extremely unhappy with both sides, and in some ways, I guess especially both sides. But Well, there's more Democrats upset with Democrats than there are Republicans upset with Republicans in a lot of ways. But so for the first time in modern history, more people don't identify as either party. This has never happened in our lifetime. So so there's no like began. This began over 12 years ago, if not a couple decades ago. You know, the whole like right now our choices are Trump and not Trump. So you could vote for Trump or you could vote for not Trump. And for 12 years, it's like you have there's nothing you're for. You're either you could either be for Trump or not for Trump. So you know we touch on this often and it does come up often, but and then the other thing is like we're not even talking about left leaning, we're talking about all media. You know, both videos address everything from Fox to CNN and MSNBC. Like we're talking about both sides, we're not talking about one side. So they're just zooming into what they want to see. But you know, one of our biggest detractors is really the any blue will do people. We're like, oh, anyone that's labeled a Democrat, let's give them everything that they want, and like there's don't ever acknowledge anything bad about anyone that claims to be a Democrat. And like that's not working. You know, again, literally more people are registered as independent or third party right now than they are Democrat and Republican. Never happened other time in our lifetime. The approval rating in Congress is in the teens. The Democrats in Congress are in the teens. Super, super low. You know, a couple decades ago, a president would get like 55, 60% approval ratings at times. Right now, the highest it's been in the last several elections is like in the 40s. I guess I don't know the exact. I would even argue there's probably Trump might have higher approval ratings than Biden did. I don't know the exact numbers, but I know that they're never in the 50s, either of them. You know, highest is ever in the 40s, usually 30s, 20s. But anyway, you know, the Democrats in office, see, there's a difference between the Democratic voters and the Democrats in office. And that's the distinction that we want to be clear about. And that's the difference of up versus down politics. We're not here to criticize the policies. We can't be for it or against it. We're neutral, I think. But the idea is that those in power on the Democrats are not actually representing the voters. You know, the voters have a very distinct stance that they want, and they're not getting it. You know, we're here, you know, decades later, and we're still talking about like we should be talking about like AI and the shifting, you know, economy and stuff like that. But we're still talking about like reproductive rights and things that were figured out 40 years ago. You know, so the split already happened. That's why Trump won. The split is already there. That's why things are collapsing as is. They took advantage. Like people are like, oh, but it's fascism. Well, fascism only happens when a country's at its most desperate. It only happens when people are not doing well. Their day-to-day is suffering. They feel like they're not getting what they wanted. For years now, that's the only look at history. Pretty much every time fascism has sprung up, that's how it gets power. It's the people are desperate and unhappy, and so you can't blame that on just one side of the party. One party. It's you know, Democrats gave birth to Trump. So that's my spiel. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah. So when we're talking about digital politics and part of the rigged system is that your choices have already been hand selected for you, right? And as we talk about politicians and approval ratings, think back to when Trump was elected the second time, right? It was Biden versus Trump. Then Biden at the last minute pulled out and crowned Harris as his replacement. Harris had her chance in the primary, didn't do so. So it's like, again, you know, we have someone not Trump to choose from, but the people didn't choose Kamala Harris. Whether or not you wanted to give her your vote is one thing, but having your voice choose, you know, who gets to be on the ballot is very powerful and part of the election process and part of democracy. So talking about splitting the left vote is almost erroneous when the left, quote unquote left, is splitting themselves up by not adhering to people's choices. that's all I wanted to say about that comment, and I'm ready to go to the next one.
Cool. That was powerful, though. I like what you just said. Yeah, they're already splitting the vote by not listening to the people. Yeah. So yeah, 100% what she just said there. And if you actually listen to our detailed plan of action, like we actually have a way to move forward without necessarily splitting the vote. We are going to do digital primaries before the general election. We're going to check the true viability in this one race. Is a third party capable of winning, or do you want to just vote for the lesser of two evils? We have a plan to prevent the splitting of the votes, and the bottom line is, like, the majority of America wants to go a different direction. So by forcing them into this false choice, you're going against what, like, we would be less split if they did what America wants them to do. If they actually followed the polling, followed what the voters said. Especially if you split left and right, most Democratic voters want something that they're not getting right now, and that would unify them if they actually stood for that information. But yeah, we could go to the next one. Let me switch the
Okay. And the next one is also for the Deadpool video. This one comes from our Instagram. Remember to follow us everywhere at futureis.org. So the original comment actually came from myself, and I asked, how do we know if a journalist is independent? And that's an honest question. That's not, coming from me as Fink. That's as Liz, as a person. How do you actually know, if someone is independent? And the comments to me was, you follow the money from communists of surprise. And that's a great point, right? And that's what we're talking about here. Who benefits, who pays for it, and who gets a return on investment from the news? And with that, I'll pass it to Travis.
Cool. Yeah, so like a little bit what they said, follow the money, and then just in general, I mean, it's pretty clear. I mean, there are gray areas, but it's pretty clear with independent media. You're going to find them on the internet. You're not going to find them on TV. But I mean, I know the TV people are also on the internet as well. But yeah, some of it's just follow the money, looking for people that are just they are independent. I mean, it's actually, I didn't think of it too far before this this recording, but I do know, like, once as we build out digital democracy and the stuff that we're building, we're gonna build make it very clear that, like, those that are independent media, they're gonna have a profile on our platform. They're gonna be accountable to you as the people, that you get to rate each politician or each media journalist as, like, how partisan are they? How accurate is their information? How objective are they? And yes, that'll be a difficult thing to maneuver, because, like, people are going to be very biased based on their own beliefs, but we're going to build out the right algorithms that balance it out the best way. So the long term is that we're going to make it easier for the average American, but for the short term, there's different networks that endorse different independent media. I mean, right now, as we're building the meta movement, we're reaching out to independent media. We're building those connections ourselves. And then as we have a significant number of independent media, we'll start showing a list of who we recommend. We're just waiting till we have the right balance of, like, across the spectrum. We don't want to seem partisan and have, like, just on one side. So we'll work on that too. But yeah, so right now, at this stage right now, it takes a little bit more digging of, like, follow the money and stuff like that. I don't know if Liz or somebody in the chat has any other kind of recommendations. There's certain companies that are trying to pool independent media together. Just, again, it moves so slowly because they don't have the marketing power. And so we're actually connecting to those places that are connecting independent media, and we're going to try to pool it all together into one big, one utility, one big utility. It's like, how everyone's plugged into the same internet. It's the same thing. We want to plug everyone into the same democracy. Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, so along with follow the money, which I think for the average person like myself is a little hard to sniff out, right? Places that do track money maybe aren't user friendly. For me though, a good kind of merit test is when you hear their news, when they report the news, are you hearing things like, hey, both Republicans and Democrats, XYZ, right? This balanced news. Do they talk about things that are anti-establishment, right? Anti-big conglomerate powerhouses, right? Money in politics. So it's finding things that, you know, are easier to assess. Are they critical of both sides? Are they critical of power? And you know, are they actually trying to speak to you, or does it feel like the audience could be a brick wall, right? So those kind of metrics help me personally to identify if someone is on the right track to being a non-establishment news source.
Cool. Yeah, those are really great points. Yeah, I mean, there's basically things that the mainstream media like basically can't say. You know, you'd think that you know, all the stuff that's going on with the media right now, that they're limited to what they say, but it's like there's a whole nother layer of it that they got in trouble for partisan attacks, of establishment partisan attacks, but you know, journalists have been fired for just saying the truth about, like, you know, like if somebody was being honest about how non-democratic the primaries were. You know, they're only allowed to go so far on mainstream media before they get in trouble. So yeah, I like a lot of what Liz said. There's certain narratives that the mainstream media can't talk about or can't reinforce. If at the best case scenario they have like somebody guest on there that talks about it, but then the news anchor learns to poo-poo it, and there's all these like there's all these things like there's even just physical gestures that news anchors do to that if you're watching somebody, like if you're watching a news anchor and the guest, there's certain like eye gestures and body language they do to subconsciously get you to like gaslight and dismiss what the other person's saying. So there's a lot of horrible manipulation tactics that both sides do on mainstream media. So yeah, so that's a good way to do it. But yeah, so you know, there's you know, sometimes it is harder to find independent media. The other thing too, though, is like you know, it's about finding them, you know, over social media. Like pick the platform you're most comfortable with. But you know, you find one independent media that you like, and then it'll, you know, it starts recommending other independent media, and you could start finding the right people that you like. You know, do a little bit of vetting, make sure they're officially like a news outlet. But you know, so it's definitely a little gray, but that's one of the main objectives that we have, is to systematize this, make it easier for the average person to distinguish independent media, build this, you know, meta movement and network, so you know who's there, and then not only where you see the independent media, but you find the ones specifically that you would align with and that you resonate with the most. Yeah, so that's that. Let's do one more. Well, if you have any last comments on this, one more reset, and then we're gonna go into the Jimmy Kimmel clip.
Exciting. Yeah, no more thoughts on that. But yeah, quick reset. Welcome to those who, you know, are just tuning in. We're live right now on TikTok and YouTube, and we're Fink, Future is Now Coalition. And through digital politics, we are building a citizen-owned alternative to the rigged system of today, where representation comes before big money and politics as usual. And today we're talking about media manipulation. We just watched our 2 parody videos and reacted to comments you guys left. Thank you so much for those. Yeah, feel free to drop a question, drop a comment in the chat. But remember, hit that follow button. We're on the road to 1,000, and every bit of, I guess, every follow really helps with our personal growth and our ability to share this message with you guys. And with that, I'll hand it back to Travis.
Yeah, so for the last segment here, we're gonna go over just a small thing that Jimmy Kimmel said yesterday, and then we're gonna just talk about that real quick, and then that'll be the last piece here. So let me make sure this looks good, and we're gonna start.
You are our leader. There was a moment over the weekend, a very beautiful moment. I don't know if you saw this.
I don't hear anything on my end.
Oh Lord. You guys, do other people hear it? It might just be Liz's connection, the way I have it set up. Y'all can just verify whether you hear it or not. While we're waiting for an answer, let me just look on my end. You guys should probably hear it. I'm going to assume it's just Liz's connection. Still my fault, but I'm hoping that the citizens hear it. Oh, you hear the... Okay, so we'll just... Too bad, Liz. you know it's said, so we'll just go with that.
On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave him. That is an example we should follow. If you believe in the teachings of Jesus, as I do...
I'm also confused by the timeline. Maybe it's the wrong... Oh, it's supposed to be 1603. I apologize. And then now you're saying you don't hear it. Oh my God. I apologize, people. I thought this was ready to go. Let's see. I have one theory. Sorry, guys. Give me 1 sec. Okay, I'm gonna play it at the right spot, and then just let me know in the chat if you guys hear it.
You are our leader. Now, there was a moment over the weekend, a very beautiful moment. I don't know if you saw this. On Sunday, Erica Kirk forgave the man who shot her husband. She forgave.
Actually, I don't even. We'll have to drop it. Because that's supposed to be the part. Maybe it's because it's the different video. All right, let me try one more. Well, so Carrie, you did hear the audio though, right? I need to know if you did that. Because I'm gonna try. I think I just put the wrong video up. Because it was supposed to be at the 1603 marker. Just one quick little sentence he says that we just wanted to touch on and record it. Carrie, if you could tell us, I'm waiting for you in the chat. So this is the one. Wait. Oh, 16. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Here it is.
Spinning hours. Get these politicians agree on a lot of things. We agree on keeping our children safe from guns, from reproductive rights for women, Social Security, affordable health care, pediatric cancer research. These are all things that most Americans support. Let's stop letting these politicians tell us what they want and tell them what we want.
So that last part, that was it. So bottom line, he's just saying that it's time we stop letting the politicians tell us what we want. We should be telling them what they want. And that is the bottom line. That's kind of that's in a nutshell, that is the problem of where we live today, is that we are forced to conform to the politicians. There's just two sides, two pro-establishment sides, pro-establishment Democrat, pro-establishment Republican. They tell us what they are going to fight for, and you have to choose between those two choices. That is not democracy. Virtually no other first world country only has two parties. Virtually every single other first world democracy has multiple parties in office, in power. You know, sometimes there are two more major parties, but they always have others that have different points of view, different perspectives. We are stuck in a system. This is not democracy. If we are stuck between two choices, two choices that we didn't really even pick because the primaries are basically skipped over. We do not have healthy primaries. We do not get choices. Statistically, only 10% of each party even is involved in the primaries. So you're not, most people listening here, you probably haven't been to a primary or voted in the primary. So, that's the fundamental problem is like, we have the infrastructure to vote for who we want to vote for, but we're being manipulated into a false choice of two people. Neither side agree to us. Both sides are sold out to the establishment, and that is the core problem that why Fink exists, why the system's crumbling, why we are where we are today. If you think Trump is the problem, he is a symptom of the problem, and that is the cause, is that you are not in a true democracy anymore. This is, it's not Trump may be making it worse, but it wasn't there to begin with, and that's the point. Neither side is promoting democracy. Maybe one side is destroying it faster than the other, but they're both destroying democracy. Any points you want to say?
Yeah, I just want to finish out talking about what is democracy and what we're trying to build here. You are a unique individual. You know what you believe, you know what you value, and your voice should be represented in the halls of Congress, and they're simply not, right? You have to almost sever part of your belief system to really fit into the establishment box, and that is simply, that's wrong. It's wrong, it's not democracy, and it's making our nation go down the toilet when those in power only care about staying in power and not representing you, right? That's why we have awful approval numbers. We have awful hyper-polarized, views and narratives and things like that. So there's just a better way to do all of this. At Fink, we have a plan. Come check us out. Keep joining the lives. We appreciate everyone who has come to this live on YouTube and TikTok. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as well, the 25th. Because again, we'll be going live at 2:30 Eastern and 11:30 Pacific. So that again will be another opportunity for us to talk to you and you to talk to us. And I'll hand it back to Travis.
Great. Yeah. So again, like Liz is saying, we have a huge blueprint. We have a way out of this. There's so many people talking about these problems. Yes, we're not the first to explain some of these issues, but if you learn more and more about what our solutions are, no one is offering what we're offering. We literally want to be like basically the utility company that plug every American into democracy. Connect independent media, connect the grassroots politicians that deserve to be heard, the grassroots organizations and movements. There's so millions and millions of good people running for office, being politically involved, parties, media, all these different groups that could build a better democracy, and they're just being shut out by the money interests, shut out by the concentration of power. So what we are building is going to build infrastructure that unifies it, allows them to have still agree wherever they agree. Where there's we're not gonna all sing kumbaya and agree on the same policies anytime soon, but we could agree on a standard of communication, a stronger democracy, overcome the money in politics, overcome status quo politics. There's so much that like 85-90% of America agrees on, and that's what this meta movement is about, is building this movement of movements around this commonality where we unite and build infrastructure where it's okay to separate. It's okay that you want to go this way, I want to go that way. That's democracy, multiple perspectives, multiple choices, but we're going to build this healthier democracy infrastructure that allows it to allows you to be able to find your cluster of who agrees with you, as well as have your healthy counter arguments where you disagree with others. So we have the solutions. We just need help getting the awareness up. More people know that we exist. Follow us, like us, share us, connect us to if you know independent media that might be interested in what we're saying, organizations, politicians. We've been building out our partnerships lately. So yeah, just we have a lot to offer, and just need more people power to scale it up and make it happen. So cool. With that, anything last minute, Liz? You good?
Just a reminder to, part of that scaling up, part of that helping us is a follow. So I put it in the chat, on social media, we are futureis.org, and we have an awesome new homepage at futureis.org. Check that out, and hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thank you for being here.
Good. All right. Okay. Live is off YouTube.
48 viewers.
Hang on, we're still on YouTube.